Hey there, Orlando here with another contemplation of the jinkies that are transiting us. It's time for the 19th jinky and the 33rd jinky. And wow, this was one of the most, I don't know, deep hearted, I don't have another word, deep hearted contemplations that I've ever experienced. And I realized how important these two jinkies are for us as humans. So the 19th jinkies gift is about sensitivity and to feel, yes, to feel ourselves, to feel our needs, to feel the others, to feel what is right for us, to feel. It's the feeling that gets us to live into the moment. And the 33rd jinky is the jinky that help us to use the past in such a way that it uplifts us. Yes, it centers us. It gets us revelations. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you a summary of the contemplation, because the contemplation is very long. It's written in Romanian, and I'm doing these videos to put up a summary for you guys, the international crowd. It's very hard to translate them on the spot because I'm writing one new at 6 days. So the translation will really be hard for me. So I said okay, I'm going to use this medium because video is popular and it's a really good way to transmit. So the first thing I want to share with you is I've talked with lots of people that have these two jinkies in their activation sequence. Mostly men, when I told them the city of sacrifice, they looked at me and, hey, what is this? I don't really resonate with it. Because we have understood sacrifice, the 19th jinkies CD, we didn't really understand it from let's say beneficial perspective, because we've put sacrifice as loss, we've put sacrifice as martyrdom. We think we lose something, yes, if we sacrifice ourselves, but or sacrifice something. But every moment we sacrifice something. So the first revelation is for me was like the quality of our lives really depends on the quality of what we sacrifice. Yeah, it's like the quality of a product is based on the quality of the materials that go into that product. So this is also our life. Yes, and we sacrifice all the time. Yeah, we sacrifice unknowingly when we don't know, or we sacrifice knowingly, yes, consciously. So I'm going to get back to that in a bit about sacrifice, and I'm just going to tell you something like this. Um, we have understood sacrifice as an extreme gesture to save someone, but we didn't understood that the supreme gesture is to save ourselves. Yes, to this is why the 19th jinki has the sensitivity as a gift, to really be sensible, to really sense ourselves and what we need, and our being. Um, so when we save ourselves, when of course quote when we save ourselves, from then on, our work is done because the work will be done through us. We don't have anything to do because the actions will come by themselves. Yes, we. It's not like we're going to, we're going to be robots like and be mind controlled. No, we really feel what the next action should be because we are in touch with ourselves. We are sensitive to ourselves. So we in this society we just struggle. Yes, we really struggle so much to do or to get something, and we we get to the conclusion, and we'll get to, it takes time until we get to this conclusion, but the conclusion is the same, that the price that we paid didn't wasn't worth it. Yes, the price that we paid in time, in energy, in life energy, to put them yeah, in perspective, uh, didn't wasn't worth it. Wasn't worth it with what we got. Yeah, we thought we needed that, and yeah. So when we get to this connection with our own being, we can observe how our effort, our energy, is put into good use. It all makes sense. Um, no, free will. Yeah, free will is really just. Yes, it's really just free will, but not in the way most of us want, because this means that when we disconnect from our self, from our authentic needs, from our native genius, from our way, from our path, we just follow like sparkling illusions, and thus we pay a price that we don't recognize. And then we, when the paycheck, not the paycheck, the bill comes. Yes, when the bill comes, we say, "Hey, I didn't order this," to life, and we get into a fight with life because we don't understand why we are punished. Yes, but this is free will. Free will means if we are in contact with ourselves, we get to live a life, a good life. Yes, because will be fulfilled because we are using our native genius. Yes, but when we aren't in contact with ourselves, we just get a bill and we pay with money, we pay with energy, we pay with, yeah. So I've been paying a bill in money in the last 4 years for one of my illusions. And it was a noble illusion. I wanted to make in Romania a center for young people. Yes, a center where they can assemble, they can use their genius, but it wasn't time, and I was just following this illusion. I didn't have support. Life showed me, hey, you don't have really support. So I've ended up paying for that decision, and the decisions from that was behind this project, because yes, there were lots of decisions, and I've been paying for the last 4 years money that I could have used into other projects, yeah, or in travel or something like that. Of course, this payment has taught me very valuable lessons, uh, but I didn't know them. Yes, nobody taught me, because we all, I think most of us were taught to be like robots, to be disconnected with ourselves and just follow a path that was written for us by someone else, by society or someone in society. Yeah, I've been growing in for the 6 years, for the first 6 years in communist Romania, and after that in post-communist Romania. And I've seen this programming. The programming is was everywhere. Now it's less and less, but it's still there. It's still ingrained. Yes, the robot that person has to serve the state and go to work and don't make a fuss and don't use their native genius, or not don't use their native genius, but native genius isn't important. Yeah, so this message is really stuck into Romanians' heads, and some of us that went through this rebellion of the self when we rediscover ourselves, it was very hard because it was an uphill battle, yeah, with this conditioning. So I've been paying this price of what society taught me for the last 35 years. Yeah. So this is what we do. Yes, when we get in contact with ourselves, we the bill is right. We can afford it. Yes, but if we get a bill that we can't afford, that really means we really disconnected. Because forgetting the shadow of the 33rd gene key sends us the bill every time. Yeah, so when we forget ourselves, when we forget our native genius, we really pay dearly. Yeah, so I think all of us that lived in conditioned societies, in Western conditioned societies, paid or are paying these bills, and this is what we have to accept, because it's a normal conclusion. It's just, yes, it's a normal conclusion of this. Yeah, if we were taught when we are young to be in contact with ourselves, it would be different. But this is, I think, the life we chose. Yeah, so to get into this trouble and to figure it out. Okay. So sensitivity. This is the gift of the 19th gene key. It's really important for our humanity, because sensitivity is like accepting imperfection. Is like looking and loving imperfection, because people that are not in contact with themselves, are not sensitive, are not sensible to themselves, they really hate imperfection. Yeah, they look at imperfection and say, "Bleh," because they think in mathematical precision terms. Yeah, things should be like this: 1 plus 1 equals 2. So they really can't adapt to change. They can't really change, and they are blocked in this, and they become like zombies, living zombies that act like in the past. In 99% of situations, they act like they acted before, and so they're prolonging trauma, wounds, and stuff and conditioning that doesn't really serve them or their close ones. Yeah. So they're living like life in autopilot. So this is why sensitivity is really important. It's really important. So to get in touch with ourselves, yes, to save our being from a life that doesn't suit us. So indirectly to transmit this to the people that are next to us, because when we are transforming, when we are in rebirth, when we are new every day. Yes, we are rebirthing. I don't know how to say it in English. Every day, people that are close to us have two options: to do this themselves and so they heal, or to leave and say bye bye, because they can't really stand this imperfection. So you have seen people that are sensitive, that they're really sensitive with animals. The 19 jinki is very close to animals. Yes, animals are imperfect. If you have a pet, you know this. They really wreck things, or yeah, they do silly stuff. So they're imperfect. So a person that loves animals can love imperfection, and so can adapt. Because it's sensitive to the animal. It doesn't really beat the animal because, hey, I told you not to shit here or something like that. So yeah, this was a nervous laugh because it's cruel. Yeah, it's cruel where when we aren't sensitive with stuff that happens in the outside. But this happens when a person is not sensitive. It's with it really isn't sensitive with his or herself, with her needs. Yeah, because we are all codependent. The shadow of the 19th jinki, shadows and cities are all present. So we are all codependent. We are in a relationship of codependence with air, with water, with people in society. Uh, so it really depends if we have the right codependencies in our lives. Yes, when we are in codependent with people or stuff that is really important to us, that is our needs. Yeah. When we are in codependence with this stuff and people, then this codependence is really good for us because we can't stop being codependent. Yeah, but the quality of our codependencies, yeah, matters. So it's really important to really know thyself. Yes, to really understand codependence and to love it, because people that want perfection hates codependence because they want to be perfect, and they don't want to be in codependence with air or with animals or with even life, and so they are not really living life. They are trying to escape from life. So perfection and imperfection, these are very important, because when we forget our nature, the 33rd shadow, when we forget our nature, we forget that we are also imperfect also perfect. We are perfect and imperfect in the same time. Yes, we have this duality in ourselves, and if we just choose perfection and see imperfection as being bad, and not something like work in progress, because imperfection is work in progress. Imperfection is the material that we need for our co-creation in this life. So we really need imperfection. Yeah. So when we are sensitive with others, we really can see their imperfections and really start to love them. And for us people, it's hard because we were taught to be in competition, to that life is a jungle, to have the best, and we really forgot to be sensible to ourselves. We don't really feel ourselves. We don't really feel. Some people are in a relationship and they don't feel the other person, and so what happens is that, let's say a breakup happens, and those two people just treat themselves as strangers, and sometimes there are kids involved, children, and they really act like they didn't know each other, but they made kids together. It's incredible how this forgetting and how this codependence with our patterns and our wounds make us to not feel the other person and hurt another. So sensitivity really helps us to not hurt us further directly. Yes, because if we hurt another person, we really are hurting them because we hurt inside. It's our pain that it's getting outside, and it really isn't helping anyone. Okay, let me see what other ideas I can transmit to you, because there were lots of ideas. It's like I wrote 6 pages about this, and I don't want to get into all of this. Yeah. I want to share my own um, struggles and my own unsensitivities, my own codependencies with my wounds. And until I found the gift of, I don't have sensitivity in my profile. I don't have the 19th, I don't have the 33rd jinky. But this was the gift that helped me the most in, I think, last years, and mostly in the last year, because I found by experience, when I'm good with others, life really rewards me. uh, because I help the whole and the whole helps me. This is codependence. This is good codependence. I help the whole helps me. But for this, I have to really be sensitive and transmute my patterns, and not really act with meanness in the outside, because then I don't get support. So I really got support from life when I started to act like this, to act with sensitivity. And if I wanted to shout or to say mean things to another, in most cases I just breathe and caress myself, and yes, and internalizing without forgetting them, without I don't know the word in English. It's important. Let me put it in Google Translate. To repress, yeah, yeah, and not to repress what I feel and say, and shove it inside. No, no, no. Just accepting that feeling that really hurt, and I just wanted to be mean. Of course, I'm a human. Sometimes it got out mean. Yeah, so I would apologize most of the times when I could, and if there wasn't present, I just apologized to them in their absence. So we're not, you know, we're not perfect, but we have to do our best. Yeah, we really have to do our best, because this is the gift. The 19th Jinkies gift is the gift that helps us to get out of you know, the rock bottom. And all of us that are going on this walking on this path of rediscovering ourselves hit rock bottom. I don't think there is a person that didn't hit rock bottom that is walking on this path in this society, this society of conditioning. Yes, because when you hit rock bottom, it's like, okay, I don't have anything else to do but to rediscover myself, because there is no help in rock bottom. Yeah, and sensitivity helps us to rise, because when we become sensible to ourselves, we become sensible with our needs. We start to love ourselves more and more, and of course it takes time, but we rise. Yeah, we get through to rebirth, you know, because the 49th jinki is linked with the 19th jinki in a channel, if you know a little bit of human design. And so sensitivity gets to a revolution, internal revolution, and so to the rebirth. So yeah, this is how this helped me, because I saw how life provided when I became sensitive with myself and with others, and I became to act differently, acting with more kindness. As of course I'm not perfect, I didn't do this all the time, but I try to do this more and more. I'm doing this more and more, and it's really really rewarding, because life uh, gets you a present, you know. And I don't do it for the presents. I do it because I feel, and when the present comes in form of support or something like that, it just makes me cry with tears of joy, because I say, okay, so this is the path. uh, so sensitivity is our humanity that relates with the exterior, with the whole. Sensitivity is being vulnerable, uh, to have the courage to be vulnerable in situations that in the past you were aggressive or defensive. Yeah, sensitivity is what helps us change our life. Sensitivity is in ourselves. So when we are depressed, we just have to be more sensible to ourselves, and not over-sensitivity, because this is codependence with stuff that isn't helping us. Is really sensitive with our real needs. Yeah, not with the illusion that says we are shitty or stuff like that. So sensitivity, it's healing sadness, it's healing bitterness, it's healing depression, because sensitivity puts you in contact with life in yourselves and with life in others. And I think sensitivity helps us to move on from this pain when we die. Because if we are sensitive with the environment just says goodbye and honor our life. Yeah, it's like being in a tribe, being with the people you love, and the passing just is peaceful. Yes, because you made peace, and every aspect of nature of this universe says goodbye to you. Yes, but we can't do this if we just run from life. So some people want the easy road, and some people I don't want to say this, but they kill themselves and to escape this, and they don't realize that they really aren't sensitive with themselves and with others. And so the passing is violent. The passing just gets them back in the same spot, or maybe in a worse spot than before. Yeah, sensitivity helps us to communicate with animals, with nature, and of course with divinity. Yeah, sensitivity is really important to have this contact, and it's getting stronger and stronger by when we become vulnerable and we let our defensive down, when we and when we dissolve our ego step by step. Of course, we can't do it perfectly. It's a imperfect dissolving of the ego. So people are stuck in the past and are acting from their past, and are stuck in stuff that happened in the past. Also, I am like that. I have the first line in my path of challenge, and I really seen this. The first line for me, it's linked to the past. Yeah, so I really seen this, how sometimes I'm stuck in the past, and when I became sensitive with myself and with my authentic needs, just a healing process started, and I forgot what that wound was. So I was in a relationship, and I was really devastated. And it took me 2 years to heal that relationship, because I wasn't sensitive with my needs and with that other person needs, and 2 years took, and it was like some years ago. So when I really got in touch with myself, with my needs, I really could let her go energetically, and I didn't feel that person in my aura, and the obsession ended there. So I've been through that. Yes, we the past is there, but can be can be our teacher. So I've that relationship and that breaking up made me start my process, and I owe that breakup my process, you know. And if I was stuck in the past, and if I remain stuck in the past, I wouldn't uh, go into deconditioning, into jinkies, into human design and other stuff, because I was stuck. I would have been stuck in the same thoughts that, yeah, she's guilty, or I don't know, stuff like that. So to get out of situations, we must be vulnerable with our needs, and let our wounds heal. Some wounds take time to heal, so we have to be caring with ourselves and to care for ourselves. And if we are sensitive to us, pain and suffering, emotional pain and suffering, can be a bliss, but only when we feel them. When I cry because I have my fallings, I really enjoy this crying. It's really a bliss for me. It took me years to get to this point, but I know that I would be okay. And this crying is just to let stuff come out, and really acknowledging that I'm a human being, and I sometimes hurt. Yeah, we all want to be perfect and not to hurt and have these perfect lives, and it's a lie. We can't have perfect lives. We can have very good imperfect lives, very good human lives, but not perfect. So we to get back to sacrifice, we are all sacrificing stuff every moment. So time, we sacrifice time. So how we sacrifice our time? We sacrifice our time to be whole, to be in the whole, or we sacrifice time just to follow the illusions. So if we sacrifice our time to be good with ourselves and with others, guess how the whole will respond to us, and how our body will respond to us if we are good with our body. Yeah. So my recommendation is to be vulnerable. Yes, to be vulnerable, not with all the people, because some people are lost in saving the planet and saving stuff that and they aren't really in contact with themselves, and they are really suffering because of this. So don't overdo it. Be vulnerable with with yourself in the first step. Then when you feel you can be vulnerable with yourself and you are in contact with your needs and you can assert your needs with others, then go and be sensible to the ones that are close to you. And then when you build really good relationships, then you can be sensitive with the whole, because there is lots of shit happening in the world right now, so we can't save everything. Yeah, and we just suffer if we say, okay, people are dying because of war or injustice and some stuff like that, but it really doesn't help anyone. We just get lost, we forget ourselves. So my recommendation is to start small, start with ourselves and build up from there, and build a good relationship with ourselves, then build a good relationship with others, and then we can build a good relationship with the whole. Yeah, don't overdo it. Be sensible with what you can and what you can't do. Yeah, so um, stop the sacrifices that you make to that get you more bitter and more sad, and make sacrifices that get you to joy, because if you are living a life of joy, everyone around you will live a life of joy, or live. Yes, so make sacrifices that are really good for you. You know, sacrifice your time doing good stuff, and your children and your spouse will learn from this. Yeah. In my country, in Romania, there was this pattern. I don't want it isn't relevant if I want it or not. But it is this pattern that parents went abroad to work and left their children here, and those children got really depressed because they didn't have their parents, and their parents get them money and stuff, and but the children were unhappy. And of course the parents were unhappy because they weren't with their children, they weren't with their loved ones, they were just working abroad for strangers. And from this nobody won. What can you do with money if your child is depressed all the time? Yeah, so seed joy. Yeah, put the seed of joy in everything. Yeah, be sensible with yourself in this regard. Be joyful. Yeah, don't try to save everyone else. Don't try to sacrifice yourself for everyone else. Be joyful, and everyone will be joyful in your vicinity. Yes, and you'll have a good life, and life will reward you for this. Yeah. This is the revelation, the 33rd Jinkies Siddhi, that good sacrifice, that sacrifice that brings joy, will get you joy, will get you a good life in return. Yeah. So this was the contemplation or summary of the contemplation. Hope it helps. For me, these two jinkies are really important and are really a way of life, even if I don't have them in my profile. It doesn't really depends if we have them in our profiles. I feel that the jinkies that we don't have in our profile we are learning them. We don't have them like written inside like in stone, but we're just learning them from the outside. So I've had to learn sensitivity because I didn't have teachers in this regard. So I lived not a very sensitive life until a few years ago. So thank you for the teachers that came, and also the teachers from my past that showed me sensitivity. Yes, and also my parents that showed me from time to time the sensitivity. Yeah, even if nobody taught them, and it was really hard for them to do that. Also, my father that has trouble with being vulnerable. Yes, but it's he's learning. Yes, and to be more vulnerable, and I wish him to be more vulnerable to the outside, because everyone wins in this. Okay, have a great contemplation of these two jinkies, and we'll see each other in the next week with the next. Bye bye.